Hi everybody, this is Felicia and I am here with you today for the Crafty Maven, and I am going to do something a little bit different today, and which I'm going to show you some techniques on getting some texture paste, different colors without spending a whole lot of money. So if you're one of those people that love to work with texture paste, and yes, we still use texture paste as a medium, but you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on the different colors, or if you can't find the color that you're looking for, I can show you a technique to basically help you find the color, or if not, the exact color that you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you exactly what I have here and what I'm going to be working with, and then maybe you can follow along with me by gathering the same tools that I have here on my desk. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay, so first of all, we have the first texture paste is golden. This texture paste here is a little bit thinner than what I'm used to working with, but it works very well. Okay, so that's the texture of the golden. So that's the first texture paste that we're going to be talking about here. And then, and each time you get texture paste, by the way, on any of your tools, wipe it off immediately, because it is very, very hard to come off once it dries. The next one we have is an older, I don't even know if they're even still in business, but this one is still workable. It's called the Dreamweaver Stencils, and it's embossing paste. And it's a little thicker than the golden. Okay, it's a little thicker. All right. So that one, and I have two jar. I have one. That's the whole jar, and then part of another one. So we'll go ahead and put those to the side because those are the same thing. And then the second one I have is a Ranger texture paste. Now I'm sure everybody's familiar with that one. I think this one was the most famous texture paste ever when it first started coming out. I have that, and this one is pretty thick. Now this particular one that I have in here is a little bit firm. It still works, by the way, so I just not sure if you guys knew that, but it's still good and it's still workable. So this is the Ranger texture paste. So here you can see that. And I have that, and then I have one of my favorites, and I don't use it enough, but this is one of my favorites. This is the Dreamweaver stencil paste, but it's the pearlescent one. Oh my gosh, this one is so cool. So I'm going to definitely open that one and show you that. So this is what it looks like inside, and it's relatively the same texture. So there you have that. Okay. So, and this gives whatever your paste you're using a pearlescent look to it, and it works so well. And I got just the plain one. Okay. And then we have the translucent texture paste, which I don't know if many of you are famous with working with the Ranger translucent texture paste, but this is the I might say transparent. And this one is really transparent. So you'll see kind of like how it works here once we get started with that. Okay, so those are the three texture pastes that we're going to be working with. Now there are some texture pastes by Golden that have texture in it already, like the little beads in it. That works just as well. So as long as it's white, we can work with that. The next thing you're going to need, I'm just wiping it off right now, is a knife. So this is a texture paste knife that you can use, and the reason why I use this one because of the flat edge here. There are other ones that we have, and I can show you those, but this is my favorite one to work with. So I'll just show you the ones that I have. These are the palette knives that I have. I have this one here, and this one, this one, this one. They all came in a set. These did, and there was 6 in a set for these. Okay, and as you can see, I used to use this one a lot, but we're going to go ahead and use both of these. They're both the same, except one's plastic and one's metal. So, and then we have this one, And this one. These are all different texture knives for different mediums that you're going to use, or different textures of texture paste that you might be using. Okay, and these come in a set. So, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember, which I should have marked it down, what set these come in, but there's 6 in a pack. They're nice and heavy duty, and they work really well. And then these guys came in a set. These 3 right here. I've used these. They're okay, but they're mainly made of metal and wood. Okay, and I have these 3, but you know, I'm not too keen about the way they work that well. So, but I keep them anyway because you just never know. And then, like I said, I have this one. This is also metal and wood, and this is, I got this from Hobby Lobby. Okay. Alrighty then. Okay, so those are the tool that you're going to need. So, like I said, I'm going to use both this one and the plastic one. The next thing you're going to need is stencils. Different stencils. I have a ton of stencils, so I just went through and picked the first 4 that I have. You can use any stencil that you want, as long as you make sure you clean it off when you're done. I have an Echo Park stencil. I have another Echo Park stencil of hearts. This one's of stars. And then I have a Hero Arts stencils. Okay, and then I have a Tim Holtz. I lost his original packaging, so that's why he's in here. Tim Holtz stencils are my favorites because they have these kind of weirdish, like, not weirdish, but kind of like just sporadic texture or designs on them here. So, and we're going to go ahead and start off with this one too. So then the next thing you're going to need some paper. Any paper will do. Okay, scrapbooking paper, but be aware that the cardstock, like your texture cardstock here, it takes a while to dry. Most people who work with the texture paste work with it and then they use their heating tool, which you can use to go with that, or you could just let it dry overnight if you're not in a hurry. But when you do use your heating tool, you want to be careful not to bubble it, and we'll go over that as well. So now then we have our different colored kinds of mediums that'll go with it. Now I use the spray sometimes. This is the dilution spray, and this one is called Fresh Lime, and these are very vibrant colors, by the way. And this is another dilution spray, and this one is called, oh my gosh, gee whiz, I can't really see that because I don't know if I have my glasses. But anyway, so it's kind of a purplish one. I also have my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay ink, India ink. One of those. I have a bunch of these, but I just pulled out some colors here. And I also have a Bombay, a teal one, India ink. Then I also have some ink pads. You can choose whatever ink pads you want to do this technique with. So I have some of the Ranger Archival little guys here. So we're going to just pull out a couple of those so you can actually see how this works. So we'll pull out this one, and we'll pull out I'll say a brown. So we're going to do that. The next thing you're going to need, which is this beautiful little Heidi Swapp mat. I have mine. This is like a medium mat, or which I haven't broken in yet. I have my Tim Holtz glass mixed media mat. I haven't broken that one in yet, but I will be doing that. And that mat is actually perfect for what I'm getting ready to do, but I have to figure out, you know, clear off my space enough to have that up here to work with. So alright, so now that you have your inks, your color mediums here, all your color mediums here, you have your paper, and you have your texture paste right here. And we're going to try the different ones so you can see how these all work. You have your stencil, and you have your tools to work with. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay guys, the one thing I did forget to mention that you're definitely going to need is some baby wipes. I mean, these are the best thing for mixed media. I have bags of these things, so you're also going to need those. So I'm going to take a couple of them out right now. And this is so that you can clean off your palette knife and your stencil right away, because that's what you want to use these for, or to even just wipe down your hands, because I use them for everything. or to clean up your mat or whatever the case may be. All right, so we're going to get started here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up my sleeves a little bit just so that we can get started on having this, you know, showing you this demonstration. So what I want to do first, and we'll move this over here, is I'm going to use this side of my mat. Now I'm using this side of my mat so that I can pretty much mix the colors and mix the texture paste and stuff in there. So here's the texture paste. It takes a nice little amount. You don't need a whole bunch because it just depends on what you're going to do. And so what we're going to do is we'll start out with our dilution spray. Shake that up a little bit, and I want to spray it just right there, just enough right there, because you don't want to spray a whole bunch. You don't need a whole bunch. And this is one of the things that I like so much about this mat, is because everything is cleanable. So you want to take your texture paste and you want to put it in here and mix it up. Now everybody's like, whoa, isn't that going to make your texture paste watery? Yes, it does a little tiny bit. That's why you don't need a whole bunch of the medium to do this with. Now, this is the one thing that I have to say about when you're mixing this stuff up, is it does become thinner. And if you don't like the shade that it's at, you can, you know, pretty much make your own shade. And the good money saving tip on this, you guys, is the fact that this will save you so much money, because you won't need to buy a whole container of one color that you probably maybe use even once, or maybe not even use at all. So this helps you make just the right amount so that you can put it on your work. So we're going to go ahead, now that this is a nice little greenish color, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it on. And you want to go downwards when you're putting this on, because it's easier to just spread it evenly like that. And then, you know, if you have any, you know, use it all. Use all of it that you have on the knife. I mean, it doesn't make no sense for you to just use a little bit of it and then just take the, you know, take it off. All right. So now that we've done that, we're going to pull this up, and we get a nice little texture, and our texture looks like that. Isn't that cool? And the color. All right. So we're going to move on, now that I showed you that, and we're going to pick a different color, and we're going to choose a different texture paste, okay? Okay, so now that we got that all done and we cleaned that up, if you notice that on your paper it is buckling, it's going to, because this paper is not that thick, and you can see it buckling. You can see that. So the paper is not that thick, but that's what's going to happen, okay? So that's the one thing that you got to be prepared for. If you don't mind the buckling, then that's fine. But if you do mind it buckling, then what you want to do is you want to take your paper and you want to cut this, and you want to glue. Make sure you put enough adhesive in this area on the other side so that it'll flatten out. Once it's dry, it'll flatten out. And I've done that many times and it's worked perfect. So that's one thing you want to do. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do this with archival, with this ink. So what you want to do is you want to put your ink down, kind of smush it onto your mat like that, just a little bit. You don't need a whole bunch. This technique does not make your texture paste watery, okay? This is actually a pretty good technique if you don't like it too thin or anything like that. You want to take a little bit of your texture paste, just a little bit, not a whole lot, and you want to put it down there, right on top of the ink. Make sure you recap your texture paste so it doesn't dry out. Put it off to the side, and then start mixing. Now this makes a nice brown. It's really cool to see this change colors like that. I don't know if you can see it. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit there so you can kind of see what we're working with here. So it browns it, this nice little brown texture paste here. And I like that color. Look at that. That is awesome color, you guys. And you want to make sure you mix it pretty good, because sometimes some of the ink don't get mixed in right away. And this is another reason why I like this tool, because it's so easy to scrape up off this mat, and it just comes up so nice and neat. So here is the color. I don't know if you can see that, if I can have that work in there. All right. So now that we got that, we're going to zoom out a little bit, and then I'm going to pretty much put it on here, the stencil. And you want to use it all, like I said. Use every bit of this stuff. You don't want to waste it, because I don't waste. I try not to waste, because this stuff already costs us our hard-earned money, so you want to make sure that you don't waste it. Okay. Once you get it on, you want to go ahead and pull up your stencil, and there you have it. This makes a nice little brown texture. Look at that. That's awesome, 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 awesome. Look at that. I like that look. So that's what you want to do with that one. And so I didn't show you in the last time, once I used it, to clean up, how to clean your stencil. And you want to clean your stencil, like I said, right away. Just go downwards, and you press rather firmly. You know, take your diaper wipe, press rather firmly, and just go down. Hold on to your stencil, because you don't want to bend it or break it. If you have a really delicate stencil, you want to pat it like this and go through, if your stencil is really delicate or intricate. Okay, and you just wipe it down real good, and it comes off relatively easy right away. And then you have to wipe up that spot, and then what I do is I flip the stencil over and get the other side, because sometimes the texture paste gets to the other side. And then once I get that all cleaned up and get that all wiped off, then I get a fresh one, a fresh wipe, and I just go over it one more time, just to get any excess of anything hanging around on there. And it's all clean. See? Very clean, actually. I love this. And I use the same diaper wipe to wipe up those areas, because you don't need a new one. You know, if you have some space, or if you need to get a new one, get a new one. And you just wipe up your spot right here, and it comes off. And that's relatively clean. And you take it and you wipe off your palette knife, the same. And that comes off relatively easy, as you can see. And there you have it. Nice clean palette knife to start all over again. So that was the technique. And if you can also use a paper towel to pat dry your stencil if need be. I would pat the stencil dry with a dry paper towel, because you don't want to rake it, because it'll tear the paper towel and you get little fiber tears in there. And then you also might damage your stencil if you rub on it with a dry paper towel. So just kind of dab it. All right, so that is the technique with the ink pad. So we're going to move on. Alrighty, so now the next medium that we're going to be using is Dr. Bombay's ink here, and we're going to use the magenta, as you can see here, and we're going to use that. So what we're going to use here, and I say probably, let's try the Dreamweaver Pearlescent. Let's try that. Okay, let's see how that comes out. So you want to get some of your texture paste here. Get a nice little generous amount, a little bit of the Dreamweaver. Put it down here on your mat. Recap your texture paste, and you want to take, now this stuff is very liquidy, so you want to be very, very careful how much you put on there. And I like the dropper, because the dropper helps. I just put 1 to 2 drops, if it drops out here for me. Okay, so it doesn't want to drop. There we go. 2 drops. And that's it. That's all you need for that. Now, it will make it watery if you put more drops on here. So, what you want to do is just put that amount. And you just start mixing. Look at how pretty that is turning out. Oh my goodness. Wow. See, I never did it with this color before. I've done it with the other colors, but my goodness, this stuff is so pretty. And it has that pearlescent look to it here. I'm going to let you see up close. Look at how that pearly, look at that. Isn't that awesome? That is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. I know I say that, but you know. All right, so now we're going to get our stencil, and we're going to smooth it on there. This is the coolest thing ever. I love doing this. Pull it off. Oh my gosh. Look at that. And then you're left with this beautiful pearlescent. Look at that. Look how it just kind of like, see that? Can you see that? I don't know if the light's catching it right, but it's got that pearlescent. Look at that. Ooh, yeah, I like that. So there. So that is using the 3 mediums that I use to color my texture paste. And like I said, it will save you a lot of money in the long run. And then what you want to make sure of is that, you know, whatever, you know, if you want deeper colors, you can by all means make it a deeper color if you want to. But always remember that if you're using any of the liquid mediums, it will make it a little watery and it will take time for it to dry. I'm not saying that it's not going to work, but if you have the patience to wait for it to dry, or if you have a heating and dryer, the heater, oh gosh, I know what it's called. It's like, you know, it's like, what the heck? The heat gun here, this guy right here. If you have one of these, then you can use that, and it will dry quicker. But be sure not to let it bubble, because it will bubble. It'll change the texture a little bit on there if you let it bubble. But if you don't care about that, like me, then it'll be fine, and you won't have any problems with using your heat gun on your projects or anything like that. So, but yes, so that is the technique of doing the embossing paste, and I will show you a layout that I've done and used this technique on here, and you'll be able to tell kind of sort of which, you know, how it's done, and the stencil that I use. Maybe it might be this stencil. I don't remember which one I use. Anyway, because I don't have the layout in front of me. Anyway, so that is it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little technique. And I hope this helps for those of you who are still doing texture paste, or have never done texture paste and would like to know how it's done, or who are interested in saving themselves a gang of money, because it will save you a gang of money. All you have to do is get your mediums. I mean, I have sprays, I have inks. You can use any ink. It doesn't matter which ink you use. You can use a dye ink. You can use a chalk ink. It doesn't really matter which ink you use. They're all going to color your texture paste. And then if you want to use like things like your Heidi Swap mists, you can use that, because this is the Dilutions one. So you can use whatever you want. Make sure you have your palette knife. Make sure you have your diaper wipes, and make sure you clean your stencils off extensively, you know, once you've used them, and then you're all set. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to tune into more of the Crafty Maven, and you can take a look at the layout at the end. Hi everybody, I'm back, and I just wanted to kind of show you the layout that I did using the texture paste technique here, by coloring the texture paste and then putting it on here. Because I did not have this color, this light of a color pink of texture paste in my stash, I decided to go ahead and use this technique to get me the color that I need for this layout. So as you can see, that's exactly what it turns out, and it looks pretty cool. I used the translucent texture paste, and it gave it a nice little light little pink hue, which was perfect, and I loved the way it dried. So that's what I did. And so this is what you can do, and so you can see the texture that's on here. I wanted to make sure that you could see the texture, so the way I set my photos here and things on the layout, so you'll be able to view the texture paste. So that is what you can do with your texture paste. You can do all kinds of stuff, and I hope that this will help you in the long run, and I hope that you'll be able to come up with your own ways of coloring your texture paste. I just gave you a few ways, and I hope you enjoy this. So take care everybody, thanks for watching, and have a great and wonderful scrappy week. Bye!